just got to remove emotion from your thought. You're being emotional in a moment. You can't have the mental clarity to get the job done. Just have to remove all that from your brain. It's done and over with, and you got to reset and be ready to go for the next restart, because everybody behind you is grinding their teeth and doing everything they can to get an edge on you. You can't be feeling bad for yourself. You have to get back to work and execute and just do it again.
Race winner Tyler Reddick talking about how he survived 3 NASCAR overtimes to get the win. And Alexis, I know you took the race in on television. Each one of those things was just wild in its nature, literally 6 cars wide on some occasions.
You know, I don't really know any better way, and I'm sure there have been plenty of pundits to describe it in all kinds of ways, and I'm sure it's been described like this many times, other than a demolition derby. It felt like just drivers running into each other. You know, that turn 1 is just calamity at every single restart. And when, you know, when the race started, I felt like drivers were being a little bit more respectful. They were giving each other a little bit more room. But when you get down to when, you know, the paychecks are going to be handed out, those things are going to happen. You have a race car who, you know, that has really strong front bumpers and back bumpers, and drivers can drive through other cars, creating these cautions and all of this calamity without, you know, a whole lot of consequence. And I think that's probably part of the reason. We'll talk even more about respect and drivers not having etiquette and, you know, all of those things that have been buzzwords in the media lately. But yeah, those, there's no other way to describe those late race restarts other than wild, because that's exactly what they were.
Well, he was able to get through them.
Yeah.
That was the key. And Alan, we knew, and you were doing pre-race interviews, practically every driver on the grid said, well, we could have a good day, but we're going to have to beat the 45, being Tyler Reddick. And we see this happen, but seldom does the person that's so heavily favored just go out and wax the field like he did.
Yeah, and even with William Byron getting the pole, everyone was still looking at the 45 just overall in terms of how he could run over the course of a long run, not just one lap. And it all goes back. I mean, it started earlier in the week. I mean, Denny Hamlin, his car owner / Toyota teammate, was saying he was seeing things. He was seeing what Tyler was doing on the simulator and even on the racetrack, and Denny would try to do those things, and it was impossible. He couldn't run what Tyler was running. Kyle Busch, after the race, praised Tyler Reddick and said, you know, I try to match my driving skills to what he's doing right now, because he is now the standard. When someone like Kyle Busch says that about you, you know you're doing something right. So Tyler Reddick he has some other out of this world skill right now, especially at these road courses, that is the standard, and everyone was chasing him. And that is why Toyota goes out and gets him. That's why 2311 wanted to make it such a priority to sign him and get him over there as quickly as possible, because he has these skills and others are just trying to match it right now. And they have all the data, right? They can look on the data and see what he's doing and try to emulate it. And even with the answers, they still can't do it. That's what's so impressive about Tyler Reddick.
You know, I think the most interesting part about it all, too, is that it's not like the first time he got into a car on a road course, he was instantly magic. He's talked about having to work at it. He talked about, you know, the first year in Cup cars, how he sucked basically at road racing, and he had to go back to the drawing board and figure out how to do things differently. And now you have all of these other drivers kind of admiring what he's been able to figure out. And you don't see that very often, at least not in a way that is publicly stated from other drivers in this series. Everybody is massively competitive, and you don't typically hear those things, you know, from drivers' peers talking about them having these capabilities. So I find it to be very interesting that somehow he just figured something out, like something clicked, and he now all of a sudden is just really, really good at road course. Don't get me wrong. I think Tyler Reddick is really, really good at all racetracks. I think that's exactly why Denny Hamlin said, I think in his post-race availability, he said, it cost me a lot of money, but I knew that this is the guy I wanted racing my, you know, driving my race cars. And I think it's going to pay off for Denny Hamlin in 2311.
I think for Denny, maybe money well spent there.
Yeah.
I'll ask this question of both of you. Chase Elliott is third all-time on the list of NASCAR drivers winning on road courses. He has 7. He is only behind Jeff Gordon and Tony Stewart. That's pretty good company to be in. Do we need Alan to start thinking about Tyler Reddick? He's won 3 out of the last 5 road courses in the same breath with a Chase Elliott.
Oh, absolutely. Because let's not forget, I mean, he went head to head with Chase Elliott all of last season, and Chase Elliott did not win with this next gen car. Again, we have to think about that factor too, right? I mean, maybe things change and Chase has to play catch up a little bit to where Tyler Reddick has really hit on it. But even yesterday was the first race with this new rules package, so you can't really apply as much from last year, even though they're both next gen car races. Yesterday's race, Sunday's race was different rules package, different downforce, and all that. So that puts it in the hands of the driver and what's between his ears and what's his hands on the steering wheel. So yeah, with all the road courses we have on the schedule, that's plenty of opportunity to get those win numbers up quite quickly. And right now, I would put Tyler Reddick on top of Chase Elliott in terms of road course prowess.
I mean, I think you kind of have to, but there was one thing missing from the race yesterday. That was Chase Elliott. So when you talk about going head to head with this new package, it's kind of apples to oranges. You can't really compare just yet until we see Chase Elliott back in a race car in the next gen car with this package. But there is no doubt that Tyler Reddick is. He's up there, if not the king of the mountain right now, with Chase Elliott sitting on the sidelines, and perhaps will be when Chase Elliott's back in a race car.
Don't want to put the crown on anybody just yet.
Yeah.
We're only 6 races in, but after the way he performed and what his peers are saying about him, you got to think Tyler Reddick's going to be in the mix throughout the year. This show is brought to you in part by Coca-Cola. Coke Zero Sugar tastes so good, people will take a taste any way they can. So when you're enjoying a Coke Zero Sugar, be ready to protect it, because one sip begs the question, is this the best Coke ever? Take a taste and see. When we come back, we'll talk about the international flavor from Circuit of the Americas.